We're excited to introduce this series of video bites to help you and your students create amazing experiences and build in-demand skills for success in school and after graduation. In this bite, we'll share how Adobe Creative Cloud makes it easy for you and your students to design experiences for websites, mobile apps, voice interfaces, games, and a whole lot more. Adobe XD offers intuitive UI and UX design and prototyping tools, real-time collaboration features, and tight integration with your favorite image and graphic design apps like Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. Let's explore XD as we walk through a design project. Getting started in XD is easy. If you're familiar with other Adobe apps like Photoshop and Illustrator, XD has a familiar toolset and a lot of shared shortcuts. For those of you new to Adobe tools, XD is made to be user-friendly, intuitive, and fast. From starting a document from default project sizes, depending on what you're creating, to jumping into the projects and adding artboards that'll become the screens or pages in your project. Just like Illustrator or Photoshop, artboards can be scaled, transformed, and organized how you see fit. You can add images and graphics you create in familiar formats like JPEG, PNG, and SVG to projects in a variety of ways. There are familiar tools for creating graphic elements like icons, buttons, and screen elements. You can add your text for headers, body content, and more, and use familiar formatting options, including Adobe fonts. From within XD, you can access different types of UI kits, including wireframe kits for low fidelity or quick prototyping, and design templates for different types of projects. UI kits are core components of a framework like buttons and labels. When a UI kit is chosen that best suits your needs, you can download a kit and start adding the necessary elements to your design. Designs and content you create in familiar tools like Illustrator and Photoshop can be brought into Adobe XD a number of ways. Native PSD and AI files can be opened right in XD and automatically become native XD files. Using Creative Cloud libraries, you can save and store design assets across the Creative Cloud apps. In XD, design content like graphics, images, text formatting, and more can be saved in a library from other Adobe apps and can be accessed from within Adobe XD. Using the CC Libraries panel in XD, colors can be applied, graphics can be dragged in, and more. The assets, as well as projects you work on, can be stored in Creative Cloud for easy access anywhere you're logged in. An easy way to work faster with repeating elements like a list of employee bios or even a star rating system is to create a repeat grid from them. In XD, you can select the content that is to be repeated and apply the repeat grid. It's easy to add content to the grid to make each repeated element different. You can drag in a selection of images or even change the text by dragging in a simple text document. No matter the project, there will be elements that you use over and over again. Things like footers, headers, navigation elements, and more. When you work with components, you can work smarter by having a single source for those reusable elements. After you create a component from content, you can use that component throughout your design. You can even use them in other documents. This is how a design system can be started. When it comes to buttons, slideshows, and more, you can make content interactive by adding states. With a button, for instance, you can add multiple variations or states to it, and then wire it to change appearance based on user interactions with it. When designing for multiple devices, you can take a single design and use layout controls to make it easier to create different size versions of that design. By turning on responsive resize, you can duplicate a design, resize the artboard to a different device size, and XD will do most of the work to ensure that design content works in the new size. If there are issues with the results, each object can be manually edited to resize according to manual constraints you set. When you work with individual groups or even components with states like a button, you can set fixed padding on the object. As you make changes like editing the text, the background will scale, providing a content-aware layout change. This makes it easier for designing when creating content like drop-downs, menus, and a lot more. You can also create an interactive prototype of your design. That way users can experience how the final app might work. You can gather feedback and even save time on development later. To simulate the user experience for apps, websites, and more, you can add connections between content. There are all kinds of prototype interactions you create to visualize your project. from basic transitions and overlays like a menu to modal overlays or prototypes with immersive animations using AutoAnimate. AutoAnimate opens whole new experiences for creating micro interactions, drag interactions, smooth transitions to replicate menus, navigations, motion graphics, and a whole lot more. To preview your design and to test the interactions, you can preview right within XD using the preview window. You can even record interactions and share that recording with others as an MP4. To take testing further, on iOS and Android, you can preview right on a device using the XD mobile app. This allows for testing in real time when connecting to a machine via USB, or even using shared XD Cloud documents for testing. You can then publish your prototypes to the web and share them to get feedback or even handing in assignments using a URL. Once designs are finished, you can also create design specs with CSS and downloadable assets to hand off to a developer. Anyone with the link can view your projects in a browser unless you set specific permissions. And depending on the sharing options set, they can add comments, preview the interactions, get developer specs, and a lot more. To take the capabilities of XD even further, you can utilize plugins and app integrations from Adobe and third-party developers. Both can enhance design workflows by automating complex and repeat tasks. They can also enable deep integrations with external tools and services. For example, if you have a need to insert placeholder avatars for a design, you can install and use a third-party plugin to easily add them into your project. With Adobe XD and more than 20 additional Creative Cloud apps and services, students learn to explore the creative process, express their ideas, and communicate with impact. Students can also use Adobe Portfolio, which is a part of Creative Cloud, to present their ideas to the world in an online portfolio, and even take those projects and assets they work so hard on with them when they graduate.